Mums with Hustle podcast, episode 493.
Welcome to the Mums with Hustle podcast, where you'll discover everyday mum entrepreneurs killing it in their industry. Learn the secrets you can replicate to create your own success with your host, Tracy Harris.
Okay, welcome back to the Mums with Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Harris. My husband just made me a delicious long black. It's my third coffee for the day. Let's get into it. You know, today we're diving into a topic that affects so many of the women that I mentor, especially the ones that are building their businesses in public. They're highly visible, but they're also highly intelligent women, and they fear not being understood. Now, I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee. If this is you, if you've ever feared not being understood, this episode is for you. Now, when I say the fear of not being understood, or even the fear of being misunderstood, I'm not talking about minor miscommunications. This is something so much deeper, and it is a fear that lives inside of our nervous systems. It's a fear that says, if I show the full truth of who I am, or the full truth of my opinion or my experience or my philosophy, will I still be accepted? Will people get me? Or will I lose connection? Will I lose relevance? Will I lose respect? Will I even lose clients? If you're a coach, if you're a course creator, an online educator, if you're a practitioner, if you're a thought leader, especially if you're showing up on Instagram or TikTok and social media, then this fear can be invisible, right? But it can also be completely paralyzing. And you know if you have it or not. So let's unpack it. Because if you are a woman who thinks deeply, and the majority, like I would say this is my ideal customer. My ideal customer is a highly intelligent woman. She's a high functioning woman. And she thinks deeply. She feels a lot. And she's here to lead powerfully. She has a big vision. And she also feels like she's had a lifetime of having to translate herself to make others feel comfortable. So here's what that may look like in your business, and even on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you're choosing to show up. It can look like you having something profound to say, but editing it down to be more relatable. It can look like you recording an Instagram reel or a TikTok, for instance, and then deleting it because it feels like maybe you're too much or you're too heady, like you've intellectualized the thing and it's long-winded, and is anybody going to understand it? It can feel like, or it can look like rather, you avoiding showing up altogether because you don't want to have to explain yourself yet again. It can feel like you're hiding your bigness. You're hiding your thought leadership. You're keeping your wisdom, your downloads to yourself. Because what if people don't get it? What if people twist it? What if people misinterpret it? What if they unfollow? What if they get angry? What if they get hurt? And so what happens? Okay, what happens is that you're posting content that feels safe and is just generic. It's surface level. You're not having your impact. That's the cost of it. It feels like your messaging isn't landing. Some people, your messaging isn't landing because you're not really sharing your message. You're sharing a diluted version that you think is palatable, that the world can understand, or that the world is ready for, when really you've got something else to share. Another thing that happens is that you start to attract people that aren't really ready for your depth. And they never go on to be customers, or they do go on to be customers, but they're nightmares. If you've been in business long enough, you've all had those people. And so what this can lead to is feelings of resentment, feelings of being burnt out, feelings of being undervalued or underutilized. That's a big one. I relate to that one. But it's no one's fault. It's our fault. It's something that is in our control, and it's simple, but it's not easy to do. Because when you are a highly intelligent woman, you're not just afraid of being misunderstood. What's often underneath it is that you're afraid of being fully seen and then rejected. That's what's most often underneath it. Not always, but most often. And I know from personal experience, I can look back and I can be like, absolutely, that was like the root cause or the root fear underneath the fear that I was aware of. So I was aware of that I had this fear of being misunderstood. I mean, originally I wasn't even aware of that. Let's just be real. But then I became aware of that, but I wasn't aware of, okay, but why is that? Where did that come from? And through doing the work on myself, through various forms and modalities, and continuing to do the work because we really are never done, I can say that it stems from a fear of being fully seen. And then when you are fully seen, the thought of being rejected, that can really, really sting for some of us. And that was something that I cared deeply about in the past. And I think I'd be foolish to say that I don't still, but it's not as loud as it was in the past. And I do believe that God sends us many circumstances and challenges and opportunities to have these things reflected back to us, where then we get to practice a new response. And you kind of get to go, like, have you ever had the moment where you're put in a situation where maybe in the past it would have activated that part of you, or maybe you would have felt rejected and that would have sent you down some emotional pain. And however, this time it's not kicking off at all. There's nothing. You can observe it for what it is. You can even have that moment of like, wow, I'm really proud of myself. That would have absolutely annihilated me or triggered me in the past. And it didn't. And instead, I could respond versus react. And so eventually you get to that place. Now, I've been having that experience lately, which is really, really cool. And then I get to reflect that back to my husband. I'm like, hey, guess what happened? I just experienced this thing and I'm so proud of myself. And, quite often it's particular people in your life, whether it's family or friends or clients or whatever, that will activate or trigger these things in you. And then you'll be like, wow, I've reached a whole new level of not caring, or detachment from the need to be liked. Detachment from the need to be understood, detachment from the threat or fear of being rejected. Because here's what I've come to know. This fear of being misunderstood, it is expensive. It's an expensive fear to be carrying around. When you fear being misunderstood, you are really unconsciously, like I said, diluting your message. That's what's happening. You're holding back from sharing your frameworks and your philosophies with the world. And your brilliance is meant to be shared. You're here to revolutionize things or change things, challenge your status quo, give life to new ways of thinking and being. And it does come at a cost. I think you are going to be misunderstood by some people and not liked by some people. And really, that's okay, because I'm willing to bet that you don't understand every single person that's out there. You don't like every single person that's out there either. We don't necessarily get along with everybody or feel warmed or feel like a click energetically with just everybody. And so it's okay that some people aren't clicking with you, isn't it? I've reached a level where I'm okay with that. It's okay. But what I'm not going to continue to do is dilute my message, hold back my frameworks, play small on social media with the content that I'm sharing, or play small in my launches, let other people who also fear being misunderstood or not liked project their stuff onto me now I'm playing small and I'm like matching their vibration. No, we get to break through that. And it feels so good to be on the other side, because it's also expensive to fear being misunderstood, because it leads you to question your own authority and outsource your power and your opinions to others. And you lose yourself. You abandon yourself in the process. So we don't want that to happen, because ultimately you stop leading and you start performing, masking, showing up as an alternative version of you. And then you get to say, people don't really know me. People don't really understand me. And like the cycle continues, but we're not allowing people to really see us and even give them the opportunity to like us or love us, whether it's in our family or in business, and showing up as your true self. Like one of my mantras in this company is the freedom to be uniquely me. Because if you've been employed, you know that like more often than not, you feel like you need to show up as a certain version of yourself. Like there's a certain version that is acceptable in the workplace and there's a certain version that is not, whether it's uniform policies or the way that you speak or when you speak or whatever it might be, right? And then when you create your own business, you get to design what that looks like. You get to give yourself the freedom to be uniquely you for once in your life. And you get to lead and you get to show up in that way. And it can feel scary because maybe you've never, ever had the opportunity to do that before. So when you stop leading and you start performing and you start attracting people who want hand holding, your visibility increases, but your conversions drop, right? We see this all the time. We see people every day where their visibility or their reach or their engagement looks really high, but their conversions drop. Why? Because no one really knows what they stand for. Maybe they're just giving really great tips or educational content, or maybe they're just sharing lots of funny memes. Their visibility increases. That sort of content's going viral, but their conversions are dropping. You are in the business of making money. Your KPI is money, helping people, making money. It's not in getting lots of likes, because otherwise your following can grow. And I've seen this, like some of my mentees will testify to this as well as being their experience. Their following grows, but their leadership shrinks because, again, they're performing, they're not leading. They're being who they think they need to be in order to be popular at the cost of being profitable. Maybe you're respected, but you're not revered. And it's not because you're not good enough. It's because your deepest, like, essence, frequency, whatever you want to call it, your most potent medicine is not being shared. That's like, it's like a light that's kind of being snuffed. But we want to lift the lid off that. We want to amplify it. We want you to have the freedom to be uniquely you. Because when that happens, you know, and you'll know when it happens because you're going to get so sick of contorting yourself. You're just going to be over it. And you're going to remember who you are. And you're going to decide, I would rather be fully expressed and misunderstood by some, even many, than be watered down and be invisible to everyone. Because it comes at a cost. Like having the audacity and the courage to share your message boldly, to take up space, to be seen, to talk too much, to be too loud, to be too opinionated, to think too deeply, to speak in big concepts. Like not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to value it. Not everyone's going to know what to do with it. Not everyone is even capable. Not everyone is interested. Like it's okay. It cannot become an excuse. Our fear of being misunderstood cannot become an excuse to stay small. Don't you just get so sick of it? Yeah. You'll stop filtering and you'll stop asking, oh, is this course good enough? Like, will they get this? Will they understand this? And you'll start asking instead, is this my truth? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Post. Hit publish, press send, and everything changes. Because you start posting your content from embodiment and not fear. And you start talking about or naming what other people tiptoe around. You start sharing in long form and in bursts, and you trust your tone and your delivery and your timing and your voice, and that your words will land. I trust that my words will land and I will be understood by the people who are ready to hear this message. Like saying that and really feeling it and meaning it. And guess what? When you do that, you don't just attract clients, you attract matches, people that are a match. And your message isn't just content, it's activation for others. And that's when you're going to start seeing more leads coming into the DMs, or more inquiries, or more people replying to your emails and asking, how do I work with you? Or sign me up. You become magnetic. And not because you tried to be, but because you finally allowed your real self to be seen. It's coming from a real natural place, an embodied place. And inside of my programs, I help my ladies release themselves so that they can show up more fully as themselves and not as any other version, not as me, not as some cookie cutter framework, but as themselves through embodiment. And the way that we get there is through fresh. Okay. And I've shared fresh before in the podcast. Maybe you need to go back and listen. Or if you're in one of my programs, if you're in Freedom Filled Business, you can go in there and you can access fresh again. But if you've heard me talk about my fresh framework before, it stands for fitness, relationships, environment, self, and hustle. And it's how I help highly intelligent women with a message, women with purpose and mission to lead online without losing themselves. Why? Because fitness reconnects them with their body. Because the fear of being misunderstood lives in the nervous system. And when you move your body, you move your message, quite literally. Relationships. Why? Because it helps you release the people pleasing and to stop shrinking in spaces that cannot hold your truth. And so you upgrade your circle to match your vision instead of placing yourself in a circle that keeps you small. Environment. Giving yourself a sacred space, whether it's the digital environment you choose to place yourself in or the physical, you need, as a highly intelligent woman, you need a space to think, create, and to receive. No more working from cluttered chaos, literally and metaphorically, your mind included, and expecting divine downloads. No, we're going to be really intentional about the environments that we choose to place ourselves in or operate from. S is for self, where integration happens. And there's so many different modalities out there that exist. And there's no one size fits all. Some people really gravitate towards breath work. For other people, it's scripture and prayer. For other people, it's meditation. For other people, it's, a daily practice like making a beautiful mantra and putting their feet in the grass. But it's that gift of time for yourself, whether it's journaling or having a nap or having a bath, whatever it might be. It's that time to nourish yourself, to mother yourself. And then finally, there's hustle, not the frantic masculine version. Calm down. It's hustle that is aligned action, the kind that leaves you feeling proud, not depleted. So fresh is not just personal development. It's how the woman behind the brand becomes embodied in her message to carry her message with conviction. So I want you just to think for a moment about what becomes possible for you as a highly intelligent woman when you release the fear of not being understood, if that's something that you are indeed carrying at this time. What becomes possible? I'll tell you a few things. Like number one, you're going to lead with boldness instead of waiting for permission. No more outsourcing your power, remember. Number 2, you're going to call in more soulmate clients. It's almost going to feel effortless because they're ready to meet you where you are at. You're going to show up as a real authority, not a polished content machine. I don't know about you, but if I had to sit around waiting for perfectly polished content, or to sit wasting hours inside of Canva or creating content inside of external video editing apps, I just would not be sharing the amount of content that I share. So things don't need to be perfectly polished, but you do need to show up as your authentic self, as your highly intelligent, authentic self, knowing that your words are going to land and be understood by the right people, and accepting and being okay with potentially being misunderstood by some and not liked by others. And that is okay. Because when you share your own frameworks and philosophies, you build trust and you scale organically, and it feels almost too easy. And most of all, you feel free, which is the best feeling. You feel free, and that feels like, well, for me, it feels like peace, because you're no longer performing. You're not translating. You're transmitting, and that's the difference. So if this episode spoke to you today, I invite you just to reflect, and you can write this down if you like. Where are you still holding back online because you're afraid that people won't get it? Where are you still holding back online because you're afraid that people won't get it? And where are you creating content that keeps you liked but not remembered? That one feels edgy for me. Where are you creating content that keeps you liked but not remembered? And if you're ready to step into your next level of leadership on Instagram and beyond in your business, then I'd love to support you. Just took a sip of coffee. Yum. And if you want to know more about how I can do that, maybe the Social Method Society is your next best step, because that is all about unlocking and increasing your confidence in showing up as the most true version of yourself, taking up space on Instagram and letting that be your content strategy, and having that turn followers into customers, because that's the secret. That's where the magic happens. That's where it starts to feel easy. That's where you start to gain the momentum. Or you are so welcome to apply to come and work with me inside of Freedom Filled Business. It is a 12-month advanced mentorship, a group container where we don't just scale businesses, we calibrate the woman that is behind it as well. And until next time, stay radically expressed, practice, trust, and never, ever, ever apologize for your brilliance. I'll see you next week on the podcast. Thanks for being here.